So, Foundation, I'm here with Taxation is Left. What your full name?
Dan, Taxation is Theft Behrman.
Yep, that's him. And so, I guess you're running for president. That's what
I
I
am.
was told.
I am.
So, Michelle was asking what you stand for. Who are you?
So, um, basically, I stand for getting the government out of violating our lives. So I see like a lot of people being violated in all kinds of different ways. People are being forced into poverty, forced out of their homes, forced to be starving, shot by police, assaulted violently. Um, the government's dropping bombs on people in other countries. All this stuff is happening, and everyone always thinks like, okay, what can we do about this? Let's vote for somebody, let's vote someone out of office. But ultimately it doesn't matter, because you keep getting these people in office and nothing ever changes. But there's one thing that actually can affect that, and that's that we keep giving them all this money that they use to do all these things. All the police that assault us are being paid with money that's extracted from us. All the police that go around and kick people out of their homes, all the war machines that drop bombs on people on the other side of the world, this is all paid for by taxes. And so if we stop giving them money, they won't have the capability to do this. So what I'm advocating is for shifting our government from one that takes money from us by force because we're afraid of the consequences if we don't pay, into a system where we pay for services that ultimately end up costing us less. And what that means is we're not forced to pay for systems that are violating our rights, that are hurting other people, that are making life more difficult for ourselves.
So we instead of being forced to pay taxes, we pay for taxes because we want roads. So we pay for roads. We
Right.
drive a car. We want education. So we pay for education. And and so that's, and even have to be like, might be something just for like low income people, and a higher income people might have to pay a little bit more for education.
Right.
Do something to people that can't afford it. But
But
that
at the
way,
end of the day, we just have to make sure that there isn't somebody with a gun in our face saying, if you don't pay, we're going to take you to jail. Because that's the part of the system that just makes it absolutely immoral.
yeah. And I definitely understand that. And so that's so.
And I know there's like a lot of people bring up concerns. Oh, well, we're not going to have schools, we're not going to have roads, police, fire departments, and all these other things. But the truth is, we're already paying for those. So to ask people to pay for those through a different way, through a way that we have the option to say, if you live in a community where the police are shooting people, they don't have the right training, they're escalating instead of de-escalating, they're causing more problems than they're solving. If you live in a community like that, and you have somehow the ability to say, we're not going to pay you because you're doing a terrible job, that forces them to say, hey, I'm going to start doing a better job, otherwise I'm not getting paid. It's the same way as anybody working any job. If you're afraid that you're going to get fired and not get paid, then you're going to do your job right. But if there's a law that's passed that says you can never, ever, ever get fired, well, what's your incentive to actually do a good job? And so when government's working for us, we need to know that we have that same check on them. Otherwise, they're going to become what they have.
So essentially, you want to give us the right to fire government officials or government police.
Absolutely.
If we decide to. And so that's a really interesting way to look at it. And like of course we want, of course the majority of people want police, and so people won't be paying for police. Not everybody, but enough people that we won't have police. They work for the people.
Right.
So.
And what's interesting too is we look at you look at any city's budget, and the police department is very expensive. Like we're in Los Angeles, their budget is probably tens of millions of dollars every year. If people look at that and think like, oh well, so how are they going to raise that much money? Well, here's the thing: if you get rid of the stuff that they're doing that they don't need to be doing, like they're running around busting people for possession of cannabis or other drugs, they're doing a lot of stuff that's basically highway robbery, issuing traffic citations, creating crimes when there aren't no crimes. If you get rid of that, you can have a much smaller police department that costs a lot less money. So when you talk about how much money you have to raise, there's not so much anymore, and that's really a huge part of it.
So that's awesome. So so he's here at the Libertarian Companion. He's a Libertarian voter, and what other things you want to talk about?
Um, I guess one of my other big issues is ending the war on drugs. Nobody has the right to tell you what you can and can't put into your own body. As long as you're not harming anybody else, if you're doing harm to yourself, that's, I don't advocate drug use, but no, like if somebody gets hooked on some hard drugs, throwing them in jail doesn't solve the problem. So we need to stop treating people like criminals and allow people. I mean, you look at any country that's decriminalized hard drugs to any extent, and you actually see people being able to get help, centers open where people can actually go and seek help because they're not worried about being arrested.
Yeah.
So, if you want to fix the drug problem, decriminalization is the best way to do it. So there's a lot of that, but of course, like I said, taxation and theft is kind of my central theme, because even when we talk about the drug war, that's all paid for with taxes. And if you ask most people, even most people who say drugs should be illegal, if you ask them, well, do you want to spend $1 trillion on the drug war? They'll say no. And that's how much we've spent on the drug war over the past few decades.
And instead of putting people in, and it's crazy, like they let so many, they're not doing anything about the drug war. I mean, I'm looking around, the drug problem is just getting worse and worse and worse. And they say there's a war on drugs, but they never seem like they do anything. They bust one drug dealer while there are 5 other drug dealers on the same. So we were just talking about the war on drugs and how, even in spite of the war on drugs, the amount of drug that is being used in America is keeping increasing, and by the fact that even though we have the toughest laws against drugs, we also have the number one use of drugs on the planet. Like,
right,
we have more people use drugs in the United States than anywhere else.
But I would say that it's because of the drug war, because you look at, people, look, a lot of people, when they go through their teenage years, they experiment with drugs, and that's fine. If they get caught with it, now they have a criminal record, that removes all their opportunities, to go to college, jobs, so many different things. It affects them in so many ways, and that basically blacklists them from having a successful life, and that creates, a pattern that, can result in depression, increased drug use, and all these other things. So the war on drugs is like, it's completely doing the opposite of what it's intended to do. And the people who are pushing it really don't seem to care, because of course they're, find some way to profit on that.
Yeah, and it's terrible. Like I just see it, like, it's crazy. Like, some cities you can get drugs easier than you can get coffee, and they seem like, nobody do anything about mental health issues, nobody do anything about addictions, nobody really, they just ignoring the people, acting like they don't exist, rush them off the carpet, and we're, being ignoring these people, they're just making the problem worse, because then the people feel disconnected from society, they feel hopeless, they feel, disconnected, because nobody was willing to give them a chance even to speak.
Yeah, there's like, they become stigmatized as like a lower class of human, and it's really,
and if we had programs that, because somebody told me, like, mental health is like when a kid is in pain, right, have a toothache, and you take them by a hand, you take them to the dentist, and they get help, right? But these people wander around for months and years, can't find help, and their pain is right down to their soul, and in the mind and the soul, the pain, they still have the same pain as a child with a toothache, but there's nobody taking them by a hand to get help.
right.
And there's no place to get help. And everywhere you go, and everywhere they go to get help, they get turned away. And then they end up treating these people like criminals. And I mean, a lot of them are done things that are criminalized, but it's because you're not allowing them to get help before it turns into
And there's a lot of there are a lot of good people who are trying to help people. There's I've seen churches who try to allow people to stay there who don't have anywhere else to go, and the churches get fined by the government to shut down because they're trying to help people. And we see so many different ways this hurts. And then even as far as pharmaceuticals, we have there's so many different ways to look at that, because you've got young people who are pressured to use pharmaceuticals, which cause psychological damage, because the doctors are basically paid to push these drugs. Like, oh, you have depression, well, here, have some medication, and it's not absolutely necessary for that medication, and then that creates it creates dependency issues. It creates more mental health issues. And this is all like a system that's created by government, because government is protecting these pharmaceutical companies from the damage that they're doing. It's protecting their monopoly, so they're able to jack up the price. So if you do need medication, it's harder to get. It's every way you try to look at it, the government is somewhere in there, just making things more difficult for people who really just want to be left alone and live their lives.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the great things about libertarians is that, I mean, I don't understand a lot of the things he talked about with all the libertarian parties, but that what's great about this whole movement is, even if you don't quite understand it, or even if you don't quite even agree with it, or you really don't agree with it, that we are, that you guys are spending time to actually talk with one another instead of putting each other down.
Right.
And that's what's beautiful thing about the Libertarian Party, and small parties in general, other than the Democrat and Republican.
Yeah.
Because you rather be the Libertarian Party, or the Green Party, or the Blue Party, or the Independent Party, or whatever party it is. You guys are all working together just to follow the democratic process, and that's just really beautiful. And even if you don't agree, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with everything that this guy is saying, which I probably don't, but it's good that we at least take the time to listen, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is, you want to hold your card up for a minute? Sure, just hold it up for a minute.
That's me. Check out Behrman2020.com.
Yep.
I'm
And
known for the big hat. Just look for the big yellow hat.
yep. All right, please like, subscribe, and share. Please hit that like button. It really helps push his message out, and so does mine. If you want to see more videos that I do, hit that subscribe. The bell icon is if you want to be notified when I make videos. If you just want to support who I am, just hit that subscribe button. And if you really want to support me, there's always the donation thing, and or if you want to support him, go to his website and fit out ways that you can support him in his campaign.
Taxes are insanely high.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your 20 minutes that you spent with me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you guys for your time.